are you all doing? Navigating these curious energies, to say the least. So, I was tuning in, as always, as to what I wanted to speak to today. And I found last night, I think it was, as I was kind of falling into sleep, these three words coming through because something had kind of come up for me over the last couple of days. And I was dealing with the feelings, the emotions, the sensations, the thoughts, the beliefs, the narratives, all of these things. I was really observing my human experience within it. And the three words that I heard were allow it, like allow it to be here, allow all the feelings, the sensations, the thoughts, just allow it, don't resist it, right? And then the second word that came through was dissolve. So, like, if you allow it, it then can dissolve because we've moved through it, right? We're moving through it. We're not resisting or we're not clinging on to it. And that the third step to that is evolve. So, to allow, dissolve, and evolve. And so I want to dive deeper into the intricacies of what does that look like? What does that feel like? And where does that take us? And the importance of these three aspects of our human experience. So let's see where it takes us. Let's dive in. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. So the first one, allowing, I think this is the hardest one for we humans because as I've spoken so much to, we're so often in the reaction to something and the resistance to something or numbing or distracting. I was speaking with a friend of mine about something else, about how, a lot of people are being medicated right now for various things and, children included, and how, this isn't a culture that goes to the core root problem or whatever wound. It goes to the symptoms. And it goes to the surface and it's like, what's the quick fix and how do we mask it? And how do we just put the Band-Aid on it? And that is a form of ignoring, denying, redirecting, you could say. And so there's very little support in just like, okay, we're going to sit here in the fire of it and let it burn and move through it. We're going to be with it so that it can naturally transmute. It can naturally become something else. But we're piling all of these experiences and thoughts and feelings on top of one another. And in that, we're creating so much density because the more that we suppress and deny and ignore and numb, that doesn't go anywhere. There is no away, right? Like we think that we throw our rubbish out and it's just going to poof, go somewhere away. It doesn't, right? It either really literally needs to be recycled and made into something else, or it gets put in landfill, right? That doesn't go away, or it could take decades for it to kind of go away, but it doesn't, nothing actually in even the entire universe or all of existence does it ever go away. It transmutes into something else. It shifts into something else. So I think we have this false, kind of illusion, this idea that if it's like the child, if I don't see you, you don't exist, right? Like they think if they just close their eyes, it's like we're playing hide and seek. Oh, if I can't see you, you can't see me, when it's like they're just standing right there and you're like, oh, I can totally see you. You're right there, right? But there's this turning the blind eye to, or, burying your head in the sand. And I get it. Sometimes there's a lot of things that are deeply uncomfortable and people don't want to look at it. And they think that it's like that child, like if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. And the thing is, it absolutely exists. And not only does it exist, it actually strengthens in its mission to somehow be seen, heard, and understood. Remember, I talked about this, whether it was last week or the week before, that we all have this fundamental need to be seen, heard, and understood. That goes for all parts within us as well, right? And so by suppressing the symptom, we suppress the very core of it. And that part doesn't matter what it is. And it doesn't matter if we're looking at this through an emotional perspective, a physical or medical perspective, our body will react in some shape or form. if the underlying cause of whatever is happening isn't looked at, right? This is the way that we function. And so that whole paradigm, that whole perspective, I should say, in the way that we perceive our human experience needs to fundamentally change, because it creates a lot more suffering for us. And if we don't deal with the emotional, energetic, and psychological, it will come out in the physical, through illness or through some kind of behavioral response to things, reaction, reactivity, triggers. Like, we can go into how that shows up in relationship, right? So this idea of allowing this, structure, let's even call it, of like paradigm of, can I allow my human experience to just be what it is kind of a really, we might understand it with our mind in kind of a practical, rational way, like, oh yeah, if I allow this, but the actual practice of embodying that is much, much harder, because what it means is relinquishing control. And what I mean by relinquishing control is the illusion that you can somehow hold on to something or mold it in a way that you want it to be and direct the direction. It's like trying to direct a river, right? You could say, yeah, there's certain ways that you could direct a river. You can put stones here and you can make it take shape. But the thing is, if it wants to do what it wants to do, like if there's a downpour, it's going to go where it wants to go. And, I had friends that actually lived by a river, and they said every year it would kind of be different. It would be in a different place. It would never stay the same course. So this idea that we can control our lives in that way, and that we control things and people and even our emotions, and I'm going to clarify what I mean by that, all of that is really an illusion. We can't control anything, but we can learn how to be in relationship to and with it, so that we're not resisting it, but we're also not overindulging in it. And it's really, I'm going to bring it back to the saying that I have is, are you in a state of tension or are you in a state of relaxation? So most of the time we're in a state of tension because we're in the ignore, distract, numb, never mind place with our human experience. And remember how I often say the simplest things are the most profound. Allowing our experience is very, very simple. The challenge of it is all of the things that we're going to meet before we actually fully allow it. That's the hard part. So something came up for me this weekend, and I felt the immediate physical response, which felt like I'm not going to go into the story of what it was because it doesn't matter. But I felt the immediate, like, oh, you feel like the punch in your stomach and the emotions come up. And then I recognize the narrative that comes up, the story that comes up, the way that the mind and the ego, and somebody said this, I don't necessarily relate to it exactly this way, but they said that their ego was like their inner child. And I just want to, on a side note, a little asterisk, that I've talked about this before. I've actually done an episode on the ego, so you can always look to that one. The ego is important. We need it. So this whole spiritual perspective of like, get rid of your ego, I personally don't believe in that view, because we need the ego in order to have this human personality and this human experience. And it's just an aspect of it, of who we are. And the soul needs it. The soul needs the ego. It needs the personality. It needs the human vessel to have this experience, right? And so the key is really understanding, how do you communicate and relate with your soul, and how do you communicate and relate with your ego and your personality and who you are in this lifetime. That conversation and that relationship is probably one of the most important relationships that you'll ever have in this lifetime, in this experience. And then, of course, connection with whatever greater essence, consciousness that you relate to, that you want to call whatever you want to call it by, that shows you and reminds you of the interconnectivity of all things. So as I'm speaking about all of this, I might speak to how I can really sense it within my self. So the example of that is my ego, which also included like my inner child, or you could say my past experiences, went into a story. Oh, see, this proves that, and this was what happens, and life is unfair, and God, the irony, and this means that, and I'm going to be this, and this is what the future. It goes into that like loop, and that story, and that narrative, and all the belief systems, and all the identities that are connected to that, and the projection. Right? It's the projection of what we're projecting onto a certain situation, onto ourselves, onto our future that is like still yet to come, right? And if you can observe when that happens, you'll notice that there's suffering. Now, why is there suffering? Because there's judgment. There's judgment on ourselves. There's judgment on existence itself, or God, or another person, or just your life in general. There's judgment. There's judgment. There's victimization. There can be blame. There can be, this whole thing of life isn't fair, like that it's all unfair. That's a big story that many of us carry, because when we feel like we're not getting what we want, it feels unfair, right? That's how it is even for children. They're like, well, that's not fair. I want that. And why can't I get that? And so we're playing with all of these different kind of human paradigms and like games or toys or whatever you want to call it. It sounds a bit funny to use those words, but we're playing in this kind of experience that the soul otherwise wouldn't have, right? But the ego and the personality does get triggered. It does have emotions. It does have a past. It does have wounding. It does have ideas about its wounding, and it has a story connected to that. And so there's this whole, you'll see that if you observe it, you feel all of those things and all of the parts that there, you could call it the saboteur or the victim or the martyr or whatever archetype that you're going, see, I'm proving it. That part is like, I'm proving it. You're always going to be this. Your life is always going to be that. And it often speaks in absolutes. It says the always, you're always going to be poor. You're always going to be alone. You're always going to be unhappy. You're always going to be this, that, and the other, right? So whilst I was like observing my own version of the first the sensations in the body, it's like, whew, okay, be with that. Then observe and witness, what's the story that I'm telling myself? What's the projection of what's the meaning that I'm giving to this situation and this experience? Because it is my meaning. It's not actually the higher truth. It's the meaning that I'm giving it. And it's the way that I'm perceiving it, because I'm going, okay, this is what it means. And so therefore that's how I'm perceiving it. And I let myself play that out for a little bit. And then I very quickly realized, luckily, I didn't have too much of an emotional pull because it's something that isn't so highly triggered, but it definitely gave me a reaction. But at a certain point, I just said, stop it. I said, firstly, most of that is not true, Corinne. Most of what you're saying is not true. It's not actually that. Like, yes, the circumstance is this, but actually the circumstance itself is pretty neutral. It's the meaning that I'm giving to it. It's what I'm telling myself about that happening that gives a certain meaning. I know this might sound really vague and ambiguous, but I don't want to go into the personals for personal reasons. I don't want to go into the details of it. But hopefully you can grasp a little bit what I'm saying, because then it can be used in all ways. I was giving it a meaning that actually wasn't based in a kind of neutral reality. And this is why with nonviolent communication, as an example, you begin with what is the observation? Like, what is the neutral observation? What's happening? Don't put any emotion into it. Just like, what is the thing that's happening? Then you speak to, how do I feel about that thing? And then what is the need underneath the feeling? And then how do I express, communicate, request what it is that I'm needing? And can that be in a way that is, I'm not demanding, I'm not in a reaction around it, but I'm just simply requesting for something that I need, which may or may not be met, right? It might have to be met by me, might be met by the other, et cetera, et cetera. You always begin with what is just the observation without putting any emotionality or story or projection or identity within that. So that my higher self came in and just was like, stop it. That's not true. It's not true, Corinne. And when I come from that perspective, I know that it's not true. And I know you've heard me say many times, what if you began by not taking it personal? What if it's not personal? Whether you're not taking something personal that somebody else did, or you're actually not even taking it personal, whatever God, divine, source, universe, consciousness, that it is like creating this situation for you, or even your higher self, your soul. What if you were just to not take it personal? So that you don't have to be on the back foot. You don't have to be in defense. You don't have to be in reaction to, and therefore also in resistance, because there's this part that's like, I don't like it. This isn't fair. I'm being, screwed over. It's like we are then in this state of tension because we're ready for the fight, or we're ready for the defense, or we're ready for the self-protection. There's the part that goes into kind of the like self-annihilism of just like, well, this is how it's going to be, and I'm defeated, and I'm going to become apathetic, and this is what it is, and I just have to deal with that, right? And it's so ungenerative, it's so unalive. It's like putting the stabbing it and being like, that's the end, and then there's no possibility. And the thing is, if we mentally go there, and if we go there with our beliefs, we are going to, in a way, create that. Not that that's what's going to be out in the field for us. Like, there still will always be possibility, but it will be whether we allow ourselves to have possibility come into our life, opportunity come into our life, because can we receive it? And can we see it? I find it less about what am I attracting or not attracting, but more what am I focusing on? Because I might just be focusing on this. This is what the belief in the identity says. This is it. This is what it's going to look like for the rest of my life. Just right here, this narrow little tunnel vision in front of me. When the reality is there's this whole opened horizon. The periphery is completely open, but I may be choosing not to look at what's on the periphery because I'm so stubborn about, no, this is just what it is. When I say I mean we, I mean all of us do this, right? So the soul comes in and gives us the reality check. It goes, you're totally in a story, and you're creating your own suffering because of that story. Stop it. It's not true. And then the soul goes, you deserve what you want. Don't make this other situation mean you're not going to get what you want. But just stop focusing on it. It has nothing to do with you, right? You deserve what you want and you desire. You're not in control of the timing. You're not in control of how it's going to play out, when it's going to play out, and all of those things. But you deserve to have the belief that it's there for you. You deserve that. And I think with things in life, whether it's like you're wanting to attract a partner and a relationship, or that your work is more successful, or that your purpose really comes online, or the vision, the dream that you had, whether it's a home or traveling, and whatever it is that your heart is desiring and it's not coming into physical manifestation. Sometimes it's letting go of that, like, I want it, and it's very hard to do that because when we want something, it's hard to not think about it, right? But it's just like loosening the grip. But the opposite of that would be like, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to have the relationship. I'm never going to have the home. I'm never going to be successful. I'm never going to travel. It's just never going to happen, right? Like, don't tell me what to do or whatever. It's just never going to happen. And I have to surrender and submit myself to that. And that's where the kind of apathy and the like, I give up, that's the opposite end of that. And that too is a belief that will block us from receiving what we want. And so the most powerful place to be is in that I'm neither reaching for it, but I'm also not pushing it back, saying it's never going to happen, because actually that's not up to us. That's between your soul and the divine. Right? And you're kind of unfortunately, it sounds very helpless because yes, we do have free will, but because we're not in control of timing, we're really just the vehicle waiting for the driver to go like, okay, we're going to drive here now. But like the car can't just go off on its own. Right? And so it has to just be like, okay, I'm here until my driver's like, this is where we're going, and when you meet that destination, then there's an experience. And so it's a profound trusting that it's there for us. And it's a profound trusting that anything between now and then is something that we just have to walk through. I've learned so much about patience these last couple years. And sometimes I fucking hate it. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I fucking hate it. I'm having to be patient on all fronts of my life right now. And there are times where you're going to dip and you're going to go, God, this sucks and I can't and I don't believe. And then there are times where you're going to be totally fine, you know, and you're going to enjoy yourself and you trust and you just have faith and it's going to be there. So the ebb and flow is natural. It's totally, totally natural. So when we can see that that's natural, that there is the ebb and flow, there is the expansion, contraction, expansion, that kind of inhalation, exhalation cycle, then the question becomes, can I allow whatever is coming through me and up for me, what is arising within me, can I allow it? So the example of that was when the other day I had this reaction. Instead of like, you feel, especially when something comes in emotionally or even instinctually, but you have a physical reaction, you have a feeling in your gut, in your solar plexus, in your heart, in your chest, wherever you have a feeling, it tends to be in the core part of your body. Yeah, when it's emotional. If what I found myself doing is there was a part that's like, no, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. This doesn't feel good. But I've known now from decades of doing this work of just like, let it be here. Allow it to just be here. It's going to be here regardless of it. You can go take a pill. You can go grab a drink. You can smoke something. You can watch television. You can eat something. You can do anything to distract it. Guess what? It's still going to be right there with you. Like no matter what you do, where you go, right? It's going to be there with you. So I found myself just going like, okay, just allow it, Corinne. And when I allowed it, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because I wasn't going into the story and the suffering of it, right? I was just simply allowing the feelings and the sensations to be there. And there's a part that's like, ooh, my ego feels bruised right now. Okay, feel what that feels like. It feels humbling. Like it feels really fucking humbling. It doesn't feel great, but it's like, just, okay, what if you just allow it? It feels a bit like, ugh, uncomfortable, a little bit icky. But I also know that that is not me. It's not who I truly am. It's not the essence of who I am, because the essence of who I am is an eternal soul. So then I started to zoom out. It's like, okay, I'm allowing the feeling. And I started to zoom out and be like, this whole crazy experience of coming into this dimension, into this realm, onto planet Earth, being a human being. I'm Corinne, you're whoever you are. What if you allowed the whole thing? Just allow it. It's just an experience. It's a game. It's a simulation. It's a whatever you want to call it. I know sometimes those words have a little bit of not a very nice connotation, but just like, what if the way to move through things was to allow it? Like, what if that was the fastest route? And that was actually where the teaching comes from and out of, right? So now I want to get to the next steps. When you allow something to be and you're not creating resistance, you're not fighting against, you're not even judging it or analyzing it or diagnosing it. You're just allowing the experience and you're having the observer that's wherever you feel it. I always feel this a little bit above and behind me. The observer is just watching in, and you could say the observer is the higher self. It's the soul looking down like, okay, this human me that I'm in right now, an aspect of me that is in right now is having this experience. And it's almost like the test, for lack of a better word, is she going to allow it? Is she going to allow it, or is she going to spend time? I'm not going to say waste time, because there's no time wasted. It's just wherever we're at within our own journey. And I'm sure back in the past, I would have resisted for longer. But it was like I could feel myself looking down going, oh, she's allowing it. Great. Good. She's getting it. She's getting it. Whatever comes into your life, allow it. Allow it. Allow it. Doesn't mean that you're giving more power to it. I'm not saying that it's like, if you're in an abusive relationship, like allow the abuse. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that we are, the act of allowing is the act of being fully present with our human experience. And when we are fully present with the human experience, this is what leads us to the next step, which is the dissolving of. There's the dissolving of the feeling. There's the because there's dissolving of the story. There's the dissolving of the identity within that story and all the belief systems that goes with that. So the dissolving of the intensity of the feeling or the dynamic or the situation is because we've allowed it to just be. And then all of a sudden there's movement. It's like opening the windows and you have the breeze that can come through and inject air into the room. She says in a really kind of hot room because I've had to close all the windows for the sound. But I can feel it. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's a bit more stale in here, right? You open the windows, it's like, oh, there's fresh air that can move through. There's movement. We want to give movement to our human experience. And that's why breath work, body work, embodiment work, movement work is so important when dealing with our thoughts and our feelings, because we want to give them space to breathe. We want to give them movement so that it's all energy. It's all energy. And energy gets really dense when we make it stagnant, when we don't give it movement and space to breathe and move and dance and play and sing and respond and create. Energy wants to always be in a creative place with itself and with other energy. So the moment that we make something stagnant because we're holding on and we're gripping onto it or we're resisting it, it suffocates, right? And then we get denser, we get heavier, we get more depressed, we get more sad, we get more angry. It's like everything closes in, it becomes heavy, right? But if we allow it to be there, we open the windows metaphorically, and we allow the space to have air within it and movement within it, you'll find that the feeling will begin to dissipate, dissolve. And it's not that it goes poof, goes away. And that's also not the intention. Like if I feel it'll just go away, right? That's not the point either. It's just that when we face and feel something, because that part is going to say, oh, I feel seen, heard, and understood. It can exhale. And in the exhalation, it can energetically, because it's all energy, it can move into something else. It's like gone from the statue, which you could say is our unseen wounding. It's like the statue that's always going to be there, and it's stone and it's hard and it's stubborn, right? And it's moving that. It's like the shell cracks off, the scaffolding, the molding falls away. And then all of a sudden it's like this animated being instead of this just rigid, stiff, unmoving sculpture, right? So that creates the dissolving. I don't know why that's the word that came through, but that's the word that came through. It dissolves the intensity. It dissolves and takes away the kind of, if you think about that, we see things as everything is solid when actually like an atom is primarily empty space, and atoms is what creates atom particles. All of these things is what creates our reality, right? So it's like going into the spaciousness of what all of this is actually. I remember, God, so long ago when I had done, this was in my 20s, when I had done a particular plant medicine journey in Ecuador. And I was having this conversation with the universe, and I really understood what density was the layering of one experience after the next, 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 that hasn't been looked at or been with. And then it creates this real hard, dense, like the table is hard, right? But that's what we do to our emotional, psychological, and spiritual and energetic body. And that actually, now I really understand that if something comes up and I'm with it and I feel it and I breathe through it and I experience it and I feel all the fucking feels within it, it dissipates, it dissolves. The energy can go into something else that maybe is more, it's not better or worse, but it can go into creating something else rather than getting stuck. And so then if we the first point, I don't want to say step, but the first point is the allowing. The second point is what happens through the allowing, which is the dissolving of the intensity of what you're going through, and the dissolving of the story and the narrative and the paradigm and the structure and the identity of all that. That is what allows us to evolve. That is the point of growth. Because now we're no longer living in the past. We're fully present, and we're in the natural becoming. We don't even need to become anything. like I said last week, we don't have to be anything more outside of us. If anything, the becoming, quote unquote, is the peeling back of the layers of the onion. So it's like, now if I'm not in this narrative and I don't have all these beliefs and projections and identities and giving false meaning to just something that's neutral, I actually just get to sit back in myself and be in this experience of being Corinne and you being you. And the evolution comes through the emotional maturity of having moved through something that was difficult, painful, confusing, annoying, frustrating, sad, grief filled, whatever it is for you, and coming through the other side knowing yourself better, coming through the other side with a greater sense of inner peace, coming through the other side with more self acceptance and self love, and fully residing in who you truly are, the essence of who you are, the soul of who you are, and the peace that comes in that I'm not trying. I'm not going into the illusion of something of that which I am not. I'm just here in my own presence, in the presence of the moment, allowing whatever comes through me to come through me without judgment. And in that, there's the realization of, oh, I'm this infinite, vast, immortal being having this really wild, sometimes pretty fucked up, weird, crazy experience. But it's grist for the mill. It's giving me an experience that is expanding me. It's stretching me. Sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable. Yeah. But the other side of that is like, oh, I remember more of who I am. And that's what this game is. The arc of life is we agreed to come in with amnesia. We forgot the incredible power and essence of who we truly are and who divine source is and how we're all interconnected and what the tapestry of all this is, which is love and consciousness. And consciousness will always want to grow, evolve, and expand. And this, like, here, let's go to Earth, the school of life, where our soul gets to grow the most and learn the most. It's a hard, like, it's like going to a university where you're gonna, like, you're doing one of the toughest courses at that school and of all schools. Like, woof, I'm going in for it, but I'm going to come out a much more evolved being. Not because I've gained all of this facts and knowledge and, things that I can collect in my brain. I will have undergone such a rich experience that is colored and, has so much color, has so much texture, that I will come out of it really like this piece of art that you can tell. You can look at a painting. Actually, I don't know if you can see, there's this amazing canvas. I think you can only see the corner of it. And if you come up to this canvas in this place that I'm renting for this month, and you really look close to it, my God, it's so intricate and textured, and there's thread and there's paint and there's, different, like, some is thin and some is thick, and it's textured. And that's what the school of life on planet Earth is. And by way of being present with our experience and allowing ourselves to move through it without the story and the most especially the judgment, without the judgment, that's where we get to evolve. And then one day we'll wake up from the dream and we'll be popped back into who we truly are on the other side of the veil. And we'll go, wow, that was a ride. It's really no different to if you've done either some kind of plant medicine journey, or if you've done, I've had these experiences even just doing like a week-long Vipassana retreat, where you don't even need the mediumship, you don't need the plant medicine. And that's something that I've very rarely done in my life. It's not something that I personally believe you have to do. It's the only way to access. No, I've absolutely had these experiences just simply in meditation, because it's the allowing of yourself to go into deeper aspects of yourself and of existence, and staying with it. Our culture that wants to numb and distract doesn't stay with the experience. And so it's very hard to allow it and then move through these things that actually gets you to your evolution. We're not going to evolve by just sitting on the couch watching Netflix. Like, if that's what you've chosen to do in this lifetime, like, maybe it's some people say we have a kind of a holiday, not a holiday lifetime, but a lifetime where we're like, you know what, let's just have it be a little bit easy, a bit simple. I don't want anything too traumatic. I don't want to grow so much. Let's do the easy course this time around, as easy as is possible, because obviously we're also here as a collective, and there's some crazy ass shit going on in the world right now that as a collective, we're going to feel it. right? And so there's growth through that as well, of course. Um, but for those that find themselves in situations in their life where it feels like, wow, this is hard, or this is intense, or this is complex, or there's a lot on my plate, your soul is like, yeah, let's have a richer, not a richer one. Let's make it a little, let's make the rules of this game a little bit more complex, because I really want to grow this time. I really want to come out the other side being like, yeah, wow, I went through a lot, but I really grew. It's kind of like, if you've ever gone traveling and you've had like, I don't think there's ever been a time where I've gone traveling. Not, I don't mean just like a holiday, like where you go to the beach and you stay at a hotel and come back, but you're traveling, right? There's never been a moment where I've gone traveling where there hasn't been some shit that goes down. And sometimes it's scary, right? It's scary. And it's like, woo, that was intense. How did I make it through alive? But you look back on that and go, wow, but that really grew me as a person. And it was an amazing adventure, and it's a wonderful story to tell. I think that's what we do when we pop out of this life. We go back to our soul family. We're like, wow, man, this was my adventure. This is what I learned. And this was some hairy shit over here. And that was quite intense. And I don't know how I made it through alive on that one. And that was really hard. But wow, I've grown, and I've had this incredible experience that's unforgettable. And it's made me who I am. And to go back to the ego, you could almost say that the ego, even though the personality of Corinne per se wouldn't go from one lifetime to the other, but the personality of Corinne and everything that I've learned so far is sending information back to my soul. And my soul is expanding through the experience of Corinne, and it's expanded through whatever other character I played in past lifetimes, where, we could talk multidimensional, it's all happening everywhere all at once, right? All of that is like feeding conscious information into our soul template, and we're growing, we're expanding because of that, because every experience, especially if we're present to it, allows us to exponentially grow, right? And so when we pop out to the other side and we share this experience with our soul family, I think that's why we come back, because I know some of you listening will be like, man, why did I come here? I'm not doing this ever again. And I honestly do feel like this might be my last round, where I'm taking a nice long holiday on the other side before coming back. But, we come down here because of the richness of this experience. And what I want to impart to all of you, and I include myself in this, is that I think what we're moving into now is we don't need to learn through suffering. We can learn through wisdom, expand, evolve, grow through wisdom, not just suffering. Take the moments in your life that feel like suffering, but don't get stuck there. Don't overindulge. Don't collude with it. Feel it. Feel it, feel it, feel it. That is the way through. You must feel it. And you can disagree with that, but I'm just going to stand strong behind what I believe, because it's just my perspective and my opinion and my belief. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. There's somebody else that you will. That's totally fine. I'm not the way. But from where I'm standing, from my experience, I will say that it feels absolutely necessary to feel it so that you can move through it. And it's not to feel it so that you can get out of it. It's to feel it so that the energy can transform. And in the transformation, the evolution occurs. The growth occurs. And if that's your intention in this life, that you want to grow, that you want to evolve, not because who you are isn't good enough, not because you need to become better because you're not good enough, none of that shit. Just the curiosity to expand more. Or like the flower that has this natural, look at nature, it has a natural encoding to grow. The soul is no different, but it's not coming from an identity that says, I'm not good enough, not worthy enough, not lovable enough, not significant enough. Listen to last week's episode on that. It's not about that. You are innately worthy, whole, good enough, lovable enough, significant enough. You matter, you belong, you're amazing, you're incredible, all of that stuff. You are that. This is simply the curiosity of wanting to expand and grow. So the invitation today is like to use these kind of three, I don't know, pointers landmarks, principles, whatever you want to call them, as a means to take you through a process of your human experience, that whatever arises, can I allow it? Can I just observe it, feel it, be with it, let go of the judgment or move through the judgment, notice it, go into it, and then be in that relationship between your ego self, your personality self, your human self, and your soul. Let the ego play out whatever it needs to play out. But at some point, the soul has to go, stop it. You're not the story. Feel the feeling, allow the feeling, let the feeling go because you felt it. It will naturally let go. You don't actually even need to try to let go of it. It will naturally resolve itself because you have felt it. And then take whatever is happening as something that is happening for you, not to you. How is it serving you? So when I took the situation, instead of feeling like a victim to it, I was like, no, this is liberating me. Oh, I can let go of that. I can just let go of that. I don't have to think about it anymore. It doesn't have to be in my consciousness. It's not anywhere on my periphery. I can let it go. And actually, I really felt this like, oh, I feel really good. I feel really good. This is freeing me. This is liberating me. This is actually bringing me closer to what it is that I'm truly wanting. So everything is happening for you, not to you. You're not a victim of it. It's happening for you. And sometimes in the moment, you're like, what? Like, how is this happening for me? But if I look back at all of the hard things, even that happened, at the end of this experience of living in that apartment with like the endless construction and then the drunk man, all of that happened for me because it took me to where I needed to get to. Hard in the moment to see it. But when you get through it and you have enough space to be able to reflect back on it, you'll see, oh yeah, I see exactly how that happened for me. Same thing when I had a 7-year injury that I felt ruined my life. I look back on it and go, that's the greatest teacher I ever had. So allow it. It will naturally dissolve, resolve, shift, and transform and regenerate whatever you're experiencing into something else. And if you can allow that process to happen, you're naturally going to evolve. You're naturally going to grow. And when we grow from that experience, that process of just curiosity and allowing and like let go of the grip of controlling it, of needing it to be something. And if it's not coming from scarcity, then you're going to feel so good. Not because something happened that's like all of a sudden, oh, there's this success or the relationship or the home or the this or the that or the other. It's like, no, it's the feeling. It's the feeling of growth and expansion and evolution that feels like so blissful. That's at least it for me. It makes me feel so blissed out because that's what God, divine consciousness wants. It wants to expand itself through all of these experiences of itself in all these various forms. So trust it. Trust the process. Don't try to control it. Don't try to resist it. Don't try to, fight against it. But also don't collude with it. Don't make it more than what it is. Don't give it more meaning than what it is and has. And notice what happens. Notice if that just gives you a greater sense of, that's where we want to get to. That exhalation that brings you back into yourself, back into your body, back into who you truly are, back into home. Connected to yourself as a being, as a person in this lifetime, back home to your soul and back home to the divine. I'm going to leave it at that. Go out and try it for yourself. See how it goes. Don't think it's going to happen like this and it's, going to be perfect. It's all just an experience. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. Just give it a go. Give it a try. The most important thing is that you're present with yourself and your experience and be as kind and gentle and loving to yourself as possible. So that's it. As always, take it or leave it as feels right for you and loving you from afar. Thank you for being here with me. Bye. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.